please introduce yourself in the chat. Maybe put something you're excited to learn about. If you could put your zip code, that helps us keep track of who we're reaching and our impact. And just as an FYI, as you just heard, we are streaming live to YouTube. So anything you put in the chat, we might read out and it will be preserved forever in the recording. But don't be shy. We love an active chat box and an active conversation. All right, and we are officially live on YouTube. So I'm going to put the link in the chat in case folks want to share it with their friends and family who might not be able to be here live. We're also going to post it on social media just to see who we can catch. Okay, just going to get this going, post it on Twitter. You never know who might pop into the YouTube recording. All right, and now we're going to also post it on Facebook just to make sure people know about it. And we're about 1 minute from starting. Oh, and it looks like Facebook has changed their interface. This is cool. Of course, they make the new Facebook right when we have an event. All right, and we're right at 1 o'clock Pacific, so I think we'll get started. We have a lot to get through today. So for those of you who just joined us, welcome. We're glad you're here. You are here for Citizen Science Meets Summer Reading. So welcome. The theme is Imagine Your Story, and today we're telling the story of Fold It and how you can help with antiviral research, real science that you can do. We're here because of the support of the network of the National Library of Medicine All of Us Research Program, with people presenting from All of Us California today. And I'm representing SciStarter. My name's Caroline Nickerson, and I help with all sorts of different events to get people doing real science. So science they can do at home, near their home, science that addresses astronomy, science that addresses health, science that allows you to learn more about the biodiversity of our world. There's a citizen science project, also known as neighborhood science, a project for everyone. As you come in, please introduce yourself in the chat, select all panelists and attendees. That would be great so we can get a discussion going. If you want to put your zip code, that helps us a lot know who we're reaching. You can also put something you might be excited to learn about and where you're calling in from. That would be great too. You can also use the Q&A function, but I like the chat because we're allowed to respond to each other and it's just really great. We're also streaming live to YouTube, so anything you put in that chat might be read out for everybody to hear. And the recording of this, along with some links, will be emailed out afterward. So you are here today to help discover new antiviral drugs, and you're going to learn about the Fold It project, and as well as get an introduction to citizen science. We also hope that you make a SciStarter account, because that can be kind of your passport to different citizen science knowledge. We like to always start these with a poll, just to learn a little bit more about you. So we just want to know, have you ever participated in a citizen science project before? No answer is a bad answer. If the answer is no, you're in the right place. You're going to learn how to do that today. If the answer is yes, awesome. Maybe tell us in the chat which project you've done. If you're not sure, that's okay too. You're in the right place to learn. So I'm going to give you a few more seconds to answer. So we'll just keep this poll open for just a second more. So 3, 2, 1, and we're going to end the poll. So let's share those results. It looks like the majority, so about 71% of the folks here, haven't done citizen science before. So great. At the end of today, I hope that you do the Fold It project. Our next question, we just want to know a little bit more about you. So are you an aspiring citizen scientist? Are you a parent of a citizen scientist? Are you a teacher, an educator, a troop leader, etc.? Are you part of a library staff? Are you a researcher or a project leader? Are you just a bored person on the internet? Or are you none of these? Please select all that apply or whatever, resonates with you best. We just want to know a little bit more about you. So we'll give you a second more to vote. Looks like we have a lot of researchers in here, which is interesting. A few library staff members. One person is a bored person on the internet. Welcome. I hope that this event makes you unbored. And 2 people are none of these. So I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. So 3, 2, 1, and we will end the poll. So as you can see, the majority of folks are researchers. We have a few citizen scientists, some library staff members, some bored people on the internet, and some people who are none of these. But by the end of this event, we hope that you are citizen scientists. So next up, Charlene, and let me go back. There we go. Charlene from the Watts branch of the Los Angeles Public Library is going to talk to us a little bit about what's going on with LAPL. So Charlene, take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Charlene. So we have a different theme for summer reading at LAPL, which is get in the game, but it works really well with citizen science and neighborhood science because yeah, we want you to be part of it. Don't just sit and watch us do things. Go out and do something yourself and help the scientists do what they're doing. And the Watts branch all summer long has been part of it's been an official Stennis NASA Astro Camp, which means that we're the only ones in California, actually. And so today is actually the finale of Astro Camp, where it's like humans in space. So there's a little party and everything. And the videos are all posted on Tuesdays at on Watts Instagram, but then we have a live version on Wednesday mornings. So if you're able to, you can just go ahead and email me and I'll put you in for our finale live version where we redo the video. We do the crafts that were happening in the video. But even though it's been Astro Camp all summer. LAPL has a neighborhood science initiative, and it's my second go around doing the neighborhood science initiative. And so I've done a lot of neighborhood science programs, and some of them are still up on the Instagram, including clouds and trees and all the other ones that I was doing before Astro Camp. But I also tried to get citizen science in my Astro Camp. So I did like things like NOVA Sun Lab and Globe at Night and Citizens at Sensors, which is fire watching, which if you're in Northern California right now is really timely thing to be doing. Go and watch the fires, but there's like a little bit too many fires right now going on in Northern California. But of course, the big thing that's happening, all of this has been happening and wrapping up for summer. All of our Instagram videos are going to go away on September 1st, and we're going to start all new programming. So if you get a chance, go and watch them right now. And then back to school, of course, is coming up. And so we have a new website, lapl.org/student success. And all of the things you need for school are there. Like if you're live homework help, and if you're a teacher, what the different kind of teacher cards and all sorts of books and resources for back to school is on lapl.org/student success. And that's pretty much what's going on at Watts.
That's awesome. Thanks, Charlene. And we actually talked about the wildfires and the SciStarter newsletter this weekend. If you are doing citizen science to observe environmental disasters, just as a reminder, make sure you are always at a safe distance and that you're following public health guidelines. And honestly, that goes for any project. You know, if you're outside doing iNaturalist, for example, make sure you're observing safe social distancing and all those things. And we really urge you all to check out LAPL's neighborhood science work. I think everything you all do is amazing. I'm always in awe. So thank you, Charlene, for the work you do. I'm going to talk really briefly about what citizen science is. I know a few of you in the poll said you hadn't heard of it before. At SciStarter, we define it really broadly as a collaboration between scientists and those of us who are curious, concerned, and motivated to make a difference. So basically, with citizen science, you can be any age. You could be a student, you could be a retiree, whatever you are, wherever you are, you know, if you're in anywhere in the world, you can find a citizen science project that you can do to turn your curiosity about an issue into real impact. So if you care about light pollution, you can do a citizen science project to help document that. If you're really nervous about extreme heat or extreme temperatures, you can document those through citizen science and contribute to a global understanding of that problem. If you're passionate about health issues, you can do a project like Fold It, all from home, and help design new things to make the world a better place. So citizen science, also known by different aliases like neighborhood science, that's what LAPL calls it, or community science is another popular term. It's just basically a way for you to do science, to get involved. And at SciStarter, we really see our role as connecting you to those projects that need your help. So at this point in the program, we always urge folks to go to scistarter.org/NLM to make a SciStarter account. There are thousands of projects that people have listed on SciStarter for you to discover, and we took a few of those and put them on this page because we thought these would be great projects for library patrons to do. So if you're interested in doing some projects that address human and environmental health, go to that scistarter.org/NLM page, make your SciStarter account, and you'll actually find Fold It listed on that page as well, which is the featured project for today. So please pull that up, make your SciStarter account now. And while you're doing that, I'm going to briefly tell you about another item on that page. It's our Introduction to Citizen Science tutorial. It's offered in English and Spanish. It gives you the what, the how, the who, and the why of citizen science. So maybe you want to just take a little bit of time, go at your own pace to really understand this field of public engagement and research. This tutorial lets you do that. And it's also an easy way for you to share it with your friends and family. It's written for people at all different age levels. So you could share it with a student, you know, or you could share it with your mom, and they'll be able to learn something new from it. And at the end, you actually get a certificate. So it's a lot of fun, offered in English and in Spanish. So we really urge you to go to the scistarter.org/NLM page and give that a try. And now I'm delighted to introduce Brian from the Fold It project. He's going to talk a little bit about the story of Fold It with the Imagine Your Story theme. He's a scientist. Fold It, the project itself, is based out of the University of Washington, I believe. So I'm really excited to hear from him about how to participate in this project because I'm actually taking notes too. I want to pick up some tips to help contribute to the citizen science project. So Brian, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Caroline. Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kepnick. I'm a scientist at the University of Washington, and I work on the Fold It project. Fold It is let's see, I can't change these slides.
No, yeah, you have to tell me next slide. Sorry about that.
Sure. Yeah. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So Fold It is a computer game that we use to help our research. We do biochemistry research. We research these molecules called proteins in the body. And actually in all of biology, proteins are in plants and in animals and basically just about anything biological you can think of. And proteins are pretty cool because they have these very intricate three-dimensional shapes. And understanding how proteins fold into these three-dimensional shapes is very important for our understanding of biology and our understanding of diseases and how different parts of biology interact with one another. So if we have a disease like coronavirus, we can study the proteins that make up the coronavirus and how those proteins interact with human proteins And that tells us about how the virus infects humans and how we can design drugs to stop the coronavirus. So the premise of our research is that you can play this game called Fold It, and you help us understand how these proteins fold. And actually, due to some research that came to a breakthrough just last year, we can start to design drugs directly in Fold It. So we're kind of beyond the point of just understanding biology, and now by playing Fold It, you can actually start to influence biology and influence drug design and how we approach these problems. And I should say that Fold It was originally launched from the University of Washington, but that was 12 years ago. And since then, we have grown. We are a collaboration between several different universities across the US. So there are a lot of people, a lot of different scientists working on Fold It, and a lot of different research that you can help by playing. So if on the next slide, I could tell you a little bit more about myself and how I came to be a scientist. It's actually, it's related to Fold It. So Fold It was launched in 2008. So this is 12 years ago. I was in college. I was still an undergrad at a school in North Carolina down here. And getting towards the end of college, trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. I was reading scientific papers and trying to figure out what fields I might want to go into. And I read this really, really fascinating paper about using citizen science to help fold proteins. And this was Fold It. This was one of the original papers from the Fold It team, in which they showed that Fold It players, people playing this video game, solved the structure of a protein that scientists had been working on for over a decade. And when they gave this problem to citizen scientists, it took them just a matter of a couple of weeks. So this was a really fascinating result. This kind of problem was I had heard about this kind of structure protein folding problem already in my studies. And so I thought this was really cool. This is what I want to go into. So in the next slide, we fast forward 1 year. I go across the country to Seattle so I can start grad school at UW. And lo and behold, I start working on Fold It. And the next slide, we'll skip a few more years. And the next Fold It paper actually has my name on it. So I went from kind of being inspired by Fold It and thinking it was really cool to, getting really interested in it and engaging with it. And now, I use Fold It for my own research, and I'm, it's very much, I consider part of a huge part of my life now, right? So that's kind of my story. If you're, I guess the takeaway in it is, if the important part about being a scientist is just being really interested in something. And if you're really interested in something and you study it, then that's basically how you become a scientist. So we can get into more in the next slide about how we're working with coronavirus in Fold It now. So I said last year we had a breakthrough in Fold It that allows us to start to design drugs within Fold It. So we're talking about designing protein molecules that could be used as drugs for certain diseases. And so we can apply this now to coronavirus. The timing was pretty serendipitous. We just had this breakthrough last year, and then the coronavirus outbreak started in December. And by February of 2020, we had enough information about coronavirus that we could start to use Fold It to work on this problem. So we have two strategies here. The first is antiviral, and then I'll talk about a second anti-inflammatory strategy. But this is just the next couple slides. I'm just going to give you kind of a high-level, simplistic overview of the biology of coronavirus and how we can design drugs using that knowledge. So a lot of you will be familiar with this this image of the coronavirus, this artist depiction that was released by the CDC. You notice the viral particle. It's kind of It's kind of spherical and it has all these nubs sticking out on it. These big red nubs, the S protein, is called the coronavirus spike. And this is the part of the coronavirus that infects human cells. Basically, the top part, the top shape, the very tip of those red nubs has a very particular shape that allows it to latch on to human cells. These coronavirus spike proteins recognize a human ACE2 protein. And when these two proteins come together, the coronavirus recognizes it, sticks to the human protein, and then can infect the human cell. What we want to do in Fold It is we want to design a protein that can block this interaction. So we are challenging Fold It players to design a protein that would stick to the coronavirus spike and prevent it from latching onto human proteins. And we think that a protein like this could help stop or halt, it could slow down or halt coronavirus infection to anyone who's been exposed with coronavirus. So this is kind of the first strategy where we're designing a protein that can directly interact with the virus. And the second strategy, the anti-inflammatory strategy, we are looking actually a step removed from the virus. We are now thinking about the human immune system. So if you've been following the coronavirus, you might have heard that some advanced COVID-19 cases have patients experience what's called a cytokine storm. And a cytokine storm is what happens when your body's immune cells, like this purple cell in the middle of the image here, releases signals called cytokines. And in certain cases, your immune system can overreact and release just a ton of these cytokines that absolutely overwhelm the body. They trigger global inflammation and sepsis and organ failure. And it's a really big problem. So this is not the virus directly causing problems in your body. This is your body's immune response that is really triggering some bad stuff. And this is one of the most fatal parts of COVID-19. So in this section, we want to design a protein that can tone down this cytokine storm. And basically we do that very similar to the previous. We just want to design a protein that can stick to the human immune proteins, and we can tamp down this cytokine storm. So on the next slide, I think I just have we kind of blown up what this problem looks like and Fold It. And what I want to emphasize here is that it's a complex spatial problem, right? If you look at this, what we have here is on the bottom and kind of in gray tones, we have the target immune protein that we want to stick to. And on the top is a protein that was designed by Fold It players. And you'll notice that there are a bunch of components. There are all sorts of shapes sticking off of these, off of their design on the top. And there are all like kind of lines and interactions drawn between these different shapes. And this is kind of what makes this a difficult problem for us to solve, and why we think humans are good at it, and why they can help. It's a very spatial 3D reasoning process that it seems people are much better at than computers traditionally. So we're really hopeful that by challenging citizen scientists to try to design these complicated protein molecules, we can come up with some really effective treatments and drugs for diseases like coronavirus. So what we do after, so I should say, this is actually pretty straightforward for you to get involved in. You just download the game and play Fold It, and then you can play some of our coronavirus puzzles and design your molecule. And then what happens on the next slide is we test molecules. So we pick out our favorite designs from Fold It players. We have all sorts of scientific metrics for picking out the designs we think will be most likely to work. And then we can test them in the lab. And that's part of my job too, is I go into the biochemistry lab here at the University of Washington, and we manufacture all of these protein designs that Fold It players made on their computers. We actually make them in the lab, and we can test to see if they stick to the target protein. And if they do, then we can trigger all sorts of downstream tests, and we can start seeing if it actually if these proteins actually prohibit viral infection in human cell cultures, and then in animals, and then eventually you get to clinical trials in people, and that's that leads to real drugs that are distributed to people. So this is a very direct way for you to contribute to coronavirus research and drug design for all sorts of different problems. And it's very easy to do. On the next slide, we just have a couple of links to get involved. You can download Fold It from our website, just fold.it. We have a Discord channel, which is really excellent. Our Fold It player community is highly active and very involved. Just really great group of people that want to help and find proteins, just the coolest things in the world, just like me. And then we have a YouTube channel and a Twitter account that you can also follow. But really, it's just it's easy to play. We have some tutorial levels that you can run through and learn the basics of the game and some introductory science. But you don't have to know anything about biochemistry to help with our research. You just have to play Fold It and try to get the top score. And I'm happy to take any questions. And I think I'll talk with Charlene.
Oh, oops. I went to Fold It. Okay, there we go. Yeah, thank you so much for that. That was super interesting. And I'll let Charlene kick us off with some questions. For those of you watching on YouTube, don't be afraid to ask some questions in the comments there. We're monitoring that as well, so we can also post those. And also, as you all are thinking over, as Charlene asked our first few questions, make sure you put your questions in the Zoom chat as well. We have about 20 minutes for questions, so we have lots of time. So Charlene, get us started.
Hi. So one of the questions I know that I had was about that there's the Fold It that I saw, you had to have a PC or a Mac. When's the web version coming out?
Yes. Right. We would love for people to be able to play in their browser, right? If you could just go to, if you could just open up Google Chrome or Firefox and go to our website and play online, that would be great. That requires a lot of work. That the technology for that wasn't really around when Fold It was launched in 2008. So we would have to rewrite a significant portion of the software in order to get it running. It's basically, it's on our to-do list, but it's a big project.
Yeah. Well, because I just got a laptop, so I could download it now. But before I had a tablet, and it sure would have been fun to try it. The other thing I was thinking about is if you, I'm a children's librarian, so do you think that kids could actually do this project? Are there any ones, maybe simple ones, that a kid could try? What do you think the lower age limit is?
That's a good question. It depends. I have seen some very young middle schools and even elementary schoolers really take on some of our introductory puzzles. They really kind of latch on to, I don't know, for some people it really strikes an interest. It's not really too complex. It is a very kind of a puzzle. It's just a three-dimensional kind of puzzle that appeals to some people more than others. So I think it's always worth introducing to anyone if you think they're interested in 3D puzzle games.
Yeah, I guess it could be part of a puzzle night at the library. We could have other kinds of puzzles and this puzzle too, and see who gets drawn to it. So the other thing I was thinking about is how you said that you actually started playing the game and then became more, actual scientists. So I was wondering if you started connecting with people in the forums, or how did you go from being somebody who played the game to being a scientist? Like, explain that a little more.
Right. So
when you were younger?
right. So I actually I should clarify, I've never actually been a very good folded player. Even when I heard about it back when I was in college, I heard about it from the scientific papers. I didn't hear about it. You know, I wasn't really a huge gamer. Um, and so the video game news wouldn't have gotten to me, but I heard about the scientific work, the scientific results that came out of it. And kind of that's how I got involved with it, is from the academic perspective, I guess. Um, but that's not the case for everyone. We do have folded players um, who have started out playing the game from the gaming perspective, have come in as just folded players, and have basically taught themselves protein structure. Just we have folded players that would fit in grad school anywhere in the country, and some of them actually are pursuing higher education now in protein science, just from playing the game and learning some introductory stuff about proteins. So it's absolutely possible. I think the main strength here is just there's a whole world of protein science, and if you really zoom in close to any biological problem, eventually you start working with individual molecules, individual protein molecules. And if you want to understand biology at that level, then you have to understand proteins, and that's what Foldit's all about.
Wow, that seems neat. The other thing I was thinking about is you said that once somebody designed a protein, you made it. How do you make a protein? Like, what do you do to make a protein?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's actually pretty cool. It builds on almost a century of, well, technically, yeah, of biochemical research. So most of you, a lot of our listeners are probably familiar with the central dogma of biology, which is that DNA is the genetic material that encodes proteins. And so what you do is you have your DNA, which is translated into or transcribed into RNA, and then that RNA is translated into proteins. So what we can do is we can work backwards. If we have a protein that we want to make, then we can look at the protein and come up with a DNA sequence that would encode that protein. And then we can make this DNA and stick it into anything that we want. We use bacteria because bacteria grow really easily. We can do it. We can grow bacteria very quickly and in a controlled environment in the lab to produce a ton of protein from this DNA. So really, all we need is we just need some DNA that encodes our protein. We stick it in some bacteria, grow it up, and that bacteria makes a bunch of protein for us. It's actually really cheap and easy to do. And that's actually one of the reasons we think that protein drugs could be really effective, is because, it can be very, very straightforward to make proteins, unlike a lot of small molecule drugs, which sometimes require complicated organic synthesis. But yeah, that's a great question. Testing proteins is it's really kind of a modern feat. It's something that we couldn't do very easily, 50 or 60 years ago.
Does anybody have a question out there? Because I have more, but I don't want to use all of my, has anybody been sending in any questions? I don't see them in the chat.
I have a quick question. I know you said you weren't the best Foldit player, but what's a common mistake you see people make? I'm partially asking because I just started playing. I want to make sure I can avoid the common pitfalls.
Good question. Let's see. Common pitfalls. It just takes I think it just takes a lot of fiddling. You kind of proteins, they work counterintuitively a lot of times. They're kind of these big long chains, and when you're folding them up, you're kind of, it's kind of like tying a knot or folding up a shoestring, but protein chains can only move in certain ways, and it takes a while to get the hang of that. So I think that the best way to really learn Foldit, and it requires some patience, I think, is just to fiddle around and see what you can do. And especially to talk with veteran Foldit players who have been playing around, experienced Foldit players, we call them veterans. Because a lot of people, a lot of our Foldit players have actually, they've developed some pretty innovative strategies for folding proteins. So there's a lot you can learn just from the Foldit community, I think.
What are some of those innovative strategies?
Well, so we have there's a scripting language within Foldit. So Foldit players can write scripts. They can write their own algorithms that to basically to do things that they would normally do by hand. So if you find, if you're playing Foldit and you find yourself always clicking through the same set of steps over and over again, well, we made it so that you can just write a script and do that automatically and save you some mouse clicking. And Foldit players have kind of, they've taken that to an extreme. And so a lot of Foldit players have these really complex scripts that they write, and they'll run a script on Foldit to go overnight, and then they'll check it in the morning and see how it did, and then run another script and then check it at lunch and see how it did. So there's really, there's a lot that you can do with Foldit for sure.
Great. Charlene, I think I see some action in the chat.
And somebody asked if a person does not know how to write an algorithm, is that a disadvantage?
No. So our community handles all that for you. There are certain Foldit players that specialize. They're really good at writing scripts. So some people, some Foldit players will write scripts and then they'll share them with everyone. So you don't have to know how to write an algorithm or how to write a script in order to use those to play Foldit. You can use the script that someone else has written, and then of course if you want to pick it up, we do find that that's the best way to learn how to script is to start with someone else's scripts, and then you start to make a couple of modifications, and then you start to make some deeper changes, and then before you know it, you're writing a whole new script all by yourself. But yes, there's a whole community who's come up with a library of scripts that you can run without writing them.
And then there's somebody else's question: is your project working directly with the vaccination research being done in Washington State?
No, so we are not, I should clarify, none of the research projects that I talked about before, those are not related to vaccine research, right? So we should be careful. Vaccines are, a vaccine is something that you use to train someone's immune system so that their immune system can fight the pathogen, right? So if we make a coronavirus vaccine, this will be something that you inject in someone's blood that would train someone's immune response to recognize and fight coronavirus if that person is ever exposed to coronavirus. What we are doing is, instead of training the immune response, we are actually acting directly on the virus and the disease with therapeutics. So we're talking about designing antiviral drugs or anti-inflammatory drugs that would be used as treatments and not a prophylactic vaccine. There's a lot of very cool work that's being done with vaccine development, and protein design is actually playing some role in that. But for now, Foldit is not involved at all in vaccine development.
And that reminds me of another question I had, which is that coronavirus has already been mutating. Would the protein still fit the new mutating versions of it, or does it change a lot?
That's a good question. So that's something we have to kind of keep track of. Excuse me. If the coronavirus does mutate significantly in the region that we're targeting, then that could be a problem for sure. From what we've seen so far, that hasn't really been the case. The binding site that we're targeting seems to be pretty stable and doesn't seem to be very prone to mutation. But that's a concern in any kind of, actually in all of biology. You always have to consider the possibility of mutations, and especially in viruses where it happens very, very quickly.
Charlene, I think we have time for about 2 more questions.
I was thinking of one. I keep wanting to see those little bacteria that build the proteins. I keep going back to that. Is there a way? Is there like a video or something? A way we could see you guys working in the lab? Is there a kind of I can't explain.
We want the behind the scenes footage of how you all create this based on the folded, what the folder players produce. Yeah.
Yeah, you should check out our YouTube channel. We put out a couple months ago, we made just a quick, 3 or 4 minute video describing the process a little bit. We can't actually watch the individual bacteria very well. They don't look like much. They kind of just float around. Yes, please. Maybe I can. I'll eventually, after this, I can post a link in the chat or something to the video I'm thinking of. But we have our YouTube channel has a lot of great resources with some background on the research that we did.
That's awesome. Yeah, Charlene, do you have any other questions?
I guess if you were interested in protein folding, what university would you say they should go to?
Folded is a multiplayer online game in which players compete.
It's okay. That scared me.
Yeah. There's anywhere. Protein research is ubiquitous. You can do, any university with biology department will have someone working with proteins, just about. The University of Washington is great for a lot of different avenues of protein research. So that's where I went to school. So obviously I would advocate for the University of Washington, but really there's so much great research going on everywhere. It's that you can't say that any one place is better than another, I think.
I actually have one last question. So you mentioned about the veteran players and like the fact that some people, will do a lot of Foldit. Could you tell us a little bit more about the Foldit community? Do you find like clusters of Foldit players in different places? Like, is there a big Foldit group in like any given state or any given country? Like, I just love to hear more about the community of players you all have.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We don't see, well, for one, we don't have, we don't collect information about Foldit players. So we don't have a lot of demographic. Every now and then we run volunteer surveys where, we ask nicely if any Foldit players would participate. But we don't collect any data about Foldit players. From looking at where people are logging in from, we don't really see any strong indicators about geography. Really, I think it's a wholly online community. So, we have users across the U.S., we have users in Europe, and we have a few users in the East, but we don't have as many language translations available for different parts of the world. But really, it is a global community. Aside from that, we don't see any clusters really about geography. And from the surveys, it seems like we have a wide range of ages, everyone from high schoolers up to retirees. And then the other thing is just a huge range of educational levels. Obviously, the high schoolers don't have a college degree yet, but we also see people that who did vocational training after school, or who went to college education, some who have higher degrees, but not necessarily in biology. There's really
Charlene, do you have anything else before we move on to all of us?
I think there was one last one in the chat. Did you guys read it? Autoimmune diseases are a big problem for many people. Is this research making any headway with treating these diseases?
Kind of scramble with what we have. But I do think that autoimmune diseases are they're going to be a sweet spot of things diseases that can be treated with protein design. Yeah, I think modifying or modulating the immune system and immune signaling, there's a lot of opportunity there for proteins. I think that folded players will can do a lot for sure. Great question.
That's great. Well, thank you so much to you both for this Q&A. If anyone else has any questions, please put those in the chat. We can try to answer them via email later on, or if we have some extra time at the end, we can try to do that. So just thank you again to you both. Next up, we have our friends at All of Us California who are going to talk to us a little bit about precision medicine. So I'll let our friends at All of Us chat with us.
Alrighty, so hello everyone. Thank you for having us. My name is Crystal Gonzalez, and I work for the All of Us research program in California. So more specifically, I'm actually a clinical research coordinator, and I'm really excited to share, share a little bit about our program and, inform the local Los Angeles community about the work that we're doing. So I just also want to give a special thank you to the Watts branch of the the Watts branch of the Los Angeles Public Libraries, and our partner, of course, the network of National Library of Medicine. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about our program. So the All of Us research program is a national effort to recruit 1 million or more participants to donate their genetic, environmental, health, and background information. Our ambition behind recruiting 1 million participants is our effort to reflect the rich diversity within our country in medicine and health research. So people from all walks of life will share their health information. Health data from diverse people will help fill gaps in knowledge about why people get sick or stay healthy. Next slide, please. So here in California, we are part of the California Precision Medicine Consortium. So we are here to serve the California community in sites such as UC San Diego Health, UC Irvine Health, Cedars-Sinai, UC Davis Health, UC San Francisco, El Cerrito Regional Medical Center, and of course, USC. So if you'd like to learn more and find the contact information for all of our sites at allofuscalifornia.org. Next slide, please. So the All of Us research program is a precision medicine study. So a little bit about that, this form of medicine takes into account each person's individual lifestyle, their socioeconomic status, their environment, and biology. So precision medicine is a new approach to improving health, treating disease, and finding cures. It acknowledges that each person is unique and different. Our genes, our environments, our lifestyles, our behaviors are all different, and the interaction of these factors greatly impact our health. These unique variables also mean that a medical treatment that works for one person might not work for another. We are all different, and our healthcare should reflect that. Next slide, please. So these 4 examples here are forms of how precision medicine is currently being used. Rather than using a one-size-fits-all approach, precision medicine aims to deliver the right treatment for the right person at the right time. Ultimately, precision medicine can produce more accurate diagnoses, early detection, and better prevention strategies and treatment choices. Precision medicine is a radical shift in how each of us can receive the best care possible based on our unique makeup. Next slide. Your participation consists of online enrollment and consent forms, materials which will inform you more about our program so you can better understand and make a more informed decision about joining. You will be prompted to answer health surveys. After the completion of the online portion of enrollment and registration, you will meet with one of our sites so they can take your physical measurements and biosamples. Participants are also asked to share digital app and wearable data, for example, if they have like an Apple Watch, if they'd like to. Next slide. And then COVID-19 impact, just one back. Yeah, so although we can't be out in the community right now due to COVID, you can get started by enrolling and completing online service today. Our team is working hard on creating reactivation plans, and once we're ready, we'll go ahead and reach out to registered participants to set up an in-person visit to collect physical measurements and biosamples. Next slide. And then in order to be eligible to participate in our research program, you do have to be over 18. So any adult over 18 living anywhere in the United States can join. We are a community-centered research program. Our name, the All of Us Research Program, reflects the importance we place on our community. We want to ensure that our program is available and accessible for all of us. The future of health begins with you, and we'd love if you're able to join our program. Many communities of color have been excluded or inappropriately included in health research in the past, and for this reason, we don't know much about them. So the All of Us Research Program has learned from this history, and we want to make sure we do things right and have different groups of people join us. We will tell you what we are doing, we will share results with you, and we will protect your data. And the All of Us Research Program aims to reflect the rich diversity of the country. It's what makes our program unique and different from others. Next slide, please. Okay, so for more information about our program and how to participate, please visit our website, joinallofus.org. You can also find our social media posts here, our different platforms, and you can also look us up on our site for the National Institute of Health. You can find all of those links here. Next slide, please. And then we understand that our viewers tuning in mostly speak English, but the following announcement is for anyone that speaks Spanish or has family, friends, or colleagues who speak Spanish and are interested in learning more about our program. So, nosotros hablamos español. El programa científico de All of Us se enfoca en incluir a nuestras comunidades diversas. Queremos que nuestro programa sea accesible y disponible a las comunidades latinas. Reconocemos que la comunidad latina en California es bastante grande y diversa, especialmente aquí en Los Ángeles. Yo como mis compañeras de trabajo nos identificamos como latinas y estamos aquí para servirles en su idioma. Feel free to share our Spanish website with your family, friends, and colleagues, or anyone else that might need it. And next slide, please. And then for any interested listeners, the All of Us Research Program serves the LA community both at the University of Southern California, USC, and Cedars-Sinai. So the contact information for both sides is listed here. If you have any questions or if you would like to reach out to us, go ahead and do so using the following numbers and emails. And again, thank you to our hosts and our partners. We really appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Crystal. Yeah, we are big fans of All of Us at SciStarter, and we've loved including you all in our summer reading events. I think what I said at the last event is I know we've been doing a lot of events with, with a younger student kind of focus. And for those of you who may be watching who aren't 18 quite yet, it's kind of like voting, right? It's something that it's good to know about so you can do it later on, and to be knowledgeable about a way you can potentially help the community. And just to quickly reiterate, if you go to scistarter.org/NLM, you can find our open source online tutorial. You can learn more about how the network of the National Library of Medicine and SciStarter are trying to increase diversity and participation. And you can also find curated citizen science projects, including Fold It. We've included links to participate in Fold It there too. So please visit that microsite, scistarter.org/NLM, to discover all these different resources. I'll let Charlene kind of wrap us up by talking about ways folks can stay involved with the library. So Charlene?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just because summer's and Astro Camp is over doesn't mean the library's done with STEAM. Yay! So the Neighborhood Science Initiative, all you have to do is go to lapl.org/STEAM, and you'll see the Neighborhood Science tab, as well as all the events and stuff we have. We've been partnering with the Pasadena Public Library, and we have been doing neighborhood science every month. And in September, we're actually gonna, the first one is for National Wildlife Day, and so there's going to be something on California condors at the LAPL Zoo, but we're going to go ahead and add in some biodiversity talking about in that one, so it just keeps on going. And there are lots of other programs to choose from too. And now that I have a good idea to combine some folding with a little bit of game night, look for Fold It coming virtually to a branch near you.
Awesome. I love that. So yeah, everybody, you can start Fold It today, and you could get your skills, get really good at Fold It before you participate in Puzzle Night with the Watts branch of the LA Public Library. Awesome stuff. I also wanted to give a quick shout out. I know the Field Guide to Citizen Science, which is a book all about citizen science and ways you can participate, is available at several different LAPL branches. So make sure you use your library e-media or whatever library resources to access this book. I think if you're in this event and you like citizen science and public engagement in science, neighborhood science, you'll like reading this. So make sure you check it out. And just to reiterate, we want you to discover Fold It and all these other different projects at scistarter.org/NLM. And you can also find different summer reading events on that microsite as well. So in conclusion, thank you. Thank you to all of our panelists, to Fold It, to all of us, California, to the Watts branch of the LA Public Library. We really appreciate it. And thank you to you, the attendee, for caring about these issues and wanting to make the world a better place and turn your curiosity into impact through citizen science. Make sure you go to scistarter.org/NLM. That's where you can make your SciStarter account and where you can find some instructions for Fold It and click a link to get started and head over to the Fold It website. And please, I would really love if you could fill out this survey and let us know how we're doing. We want to keep on providing events to you and putting together these experiences to connect you to science that you can do. So go to tinyurl.com/summer reading 9 participants. One of my colleagues could drop that link in the chat, that would be awesome. And we're just about done. I want to hear from our panelists. Is there anything else that we should keep in mind or any takeaway messages? Anything you want us to leave the Zoom room with?
I Fold It.
Yes, that's the perfect closing message. I love it. Charlene, do you have any calls to action for us?
Don't forget to go ahead and check out all the resources for your school at lapl.org/student success. We want everybody to be successful in the coming school year. Even if we're at home, we can still help you out.
Yes, and for the students out there, you could be, you could play Fold It and maybe one day become a protein scientist yourself. You never know. You already can be a citizen scientist today, so I don't know, lots of exciting things that we can do together. So thank you so much again to our panel. I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Let me just take a look in the chat, make sure we didn't miss anything. Yeah, I think we answered everybody's questions. That's awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.